Well, it's a
we
pleasure.
connected?
It's a pleasure. We're
Ready?
connected. We're on. We're live. We're back. Episode
boys.
3 of the
Episode
Together.
3 already.
Episode 3, yeah.
Wow.
You're in.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
you're,
Thank
you're
you.
early on.
The
You're
Together We
early on.
Rise
About.
podcast. It's a family show.
It's a family show.
So
A little explicit.
a little bit.
Do we
Earmuffs at some points.
like introduce ourselves every time real quick? Just like
No.
no,
No.
So they know us
They-
already.
they know.
They don't know this guy though.
But they don't know
But
this
I can
guy.
introduce myself. I'm Jose. How's it going? I'm actually the new loan officer here at Rice, and appreciate you guys bringing me on board to your podcast.
Absolutely.
I'm excited. Thank you.
Perfect.
We're lucky to have you. We're lucky. So we appreciate you being on. Again, this is Jose Menendez.
Menendez.
Yes, Menendez.
Menendez.
Not Melendez.
Not
No,
Melendez.
Do you get that a lot?
all the time.
You do?
I'm
Is
pretty
it like
sure
a
I have you
joke?
saved in my phone.
Or do
You
people
know,
just kind of
it's
go?
like, are you the DJ? No.
Maybe.
But that was, he's.
Like, I
We're
can
talking
be.
about like back in '98. It was more like he's not as on as much. I
Right.
think on the radio. But back then it was.
Yeah.
It was a thing, huh?
It was confusion
Yeah,
for most.
yeah.
They're like, you're doing my loan? Sick. I mean, I'm kind of that way.
Yeah.
I was in the entertainment industry.
He was an
like-
entertainment industry
Oh,
guy.
yeah, that's right.
So
Yeah.
for a long time prior to making the transition into I would say the family business of real estate and lending. So, well, we're glad to have you here, man.
Thank
we
you so
appreciate
much.
it. We
I
appreciate it. We want to learn a lot from you. We want to get insight on, your journey and everything that you've been through. You are a fountain of knowledge,
Right,
and we want to let our listeners learn from people like you.
Yeah,
So, again, thanks for coming on, and I think you got a lot of stuff to share that we're excited to hear.
Sure, man. I appreciate that again for having me on. So you kind of wanted to see or hear my journey, right? Like
Yeah.
okay.
So first off, we want to know, like, how did you get started in the
business,
industry and the
yeah.
business?
Sure. So, so the way I got started, by the way, I kind of wanted to kind of go even prior to that.
Please.
So I'm an immigrant myself. My mom and I came to California when I was 11, and when I came here, I didn't know any English. I actually we landed in El Sobrante, and when we landed in El Sobrante,
I'm an El Sobrante guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't have an ESL class.
Okay.
Right. So I
Where'd you
remember
go?
that.
What school was it? Do you remember?
I can't remember
Yeah.
anymore. It was. I don't.
One of those
remember.
El Sob schools.
I can't remember, but I do remember that. It was a little bit hard for me, right? In the beginning, no English, not knowing anybody, new school, right? So super, like stressful. Actually, they even put me. They tried to put me into a school international in Oakland because they had the bilingual.
Okay.
And man, I remember trying to take a bus out there. Told my mom, you know what, 1 week, and I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
This
How old were you?
I
at that
was
time?
11.
Okay.
11. Yeah, when I got here.
You're taking a yellow bus or like the city
No,
bus?
I was taking the city bus
By yourself?
by myself.
At what age?
11.
That's-
11. So I have a 10-year-old sucking on
El
the
Sab.
magic.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah, so-
All the way
so-
down San Pablo Ave.
Yes,
all the way to Oakland.
Yes. I do remember going to San Pablo, the mall, and I remember like getting my first, a McDonald's burger from the San Pablo Mall. That's crazy. I do remember that. It was good memories, But yeah, so I'm an immigrant. So from there, I moved to Concord, and they did have an ESL class in Concord. And so, I know what the struggles are, from, being Hispanic, coming actually here. Actually, we didn't even have papers when we came. So undocumented. And it's that being scared that you don't have any documents, like, hey, like someone's going to come, you can't really do anything. I remember even through high school, like my friends were getting crazy. Hey, we're going to go here. And I had to be extra careful.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's something you don't really think about,
Yeah,
right?
you don't really
like-
think about. So, like, imagine growing up and you're like, hey, you want to go ahead and, get into some trouble. I'm like, hey, no, I'm okay, But I guess in a way it kind of helped me,
Yeah,
right? 'Cause
sure.
I kind of, like, stayed back a little bit in regards to not getting into too much trouble.
Walking a straightened path.
Yeah.
Trying to, yeah.
But
That's something that's crazy. That's something I never had to think about. Like getting in trouble. I never wanted to get in trouble as a kid, but I never thought like, hey, if I get in trouble, I might not I might have to live here.
ever
Yeah, I'm about to
again.
go
No.
home.
Yeah,
I'm gone.
yeah, it's pretty scary, and back home there's not as many opportunities. So I'm from El Salvador, right? Half Guatemalan, half Salvadorian. I grew up in El Salvador, very small town called Tacuba, and there's not a lot of opportunities. I love El Salvador, but there's not a lot. So coming here was huge, and I could tell that there were so many opportunities. And like I said, even through high school, I kind of stayed back a little bit in regards not to, like get involved into all that, things that my friends were getting into. And I know how my community thinks as well because of that, coming from that way, not being documented. And I got lucky enough that being Salvadorian, there was a program called TPS. It's a temporary protected status because there was a huge mudslide that happened in El Salvador. And because of that, I was able to get into a program. It's basically like a work permit program.
Right.
And I was in the work permit program for, oh my God, I would say 20 years plus. Again, not necessarily being a citizen or being a resident, which is actually even below that, where I still needed to make sure that I was extra careful because if I got a DUI, if I got arrested, they could send me back.
Yeah.
Right. But once I got that work permit, man, it opened up a lot of doors for me. I actually started working at Wells Fargo, and that's where my experience with helping clients, being in retail, being able to do personal loans, car loans, equity lines.
Right.
That's where the experience came from me, and that was over 25 years ago, right? And I was so lucky to be able to have that opportunity to work for a big bank. I was excited to work for Wells Fargo. I mean, they've been around for over 150 years, right? Ever. And not just that, but they were, sending us to learn how to sell on the phone, how to talk to people. I was really shy when I first started. I started as a teller, and then from a teller, I went from, a personal banker, from a personal banker to a business banker. I actually even did outside sales for them, doing merchant card services for a while. And I loved it, man. I loved helping out people, the community. And to me, I was like, okay, I like this. I like the sales part of it. I like helping people. And I always wanted to get into real estate, right? Either being a realtor or doing loans. And I got an opportunity to be able to do loans with one of my friends, actually, Eric Lawson. I'm not sure if you guys have
Eric,
with him.
Yeah.
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 So I actually went to high school with him. And
What high school?
Clinton Valley.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go
And-
Eagles.
Go Eagles, yes. Great guy. I mean, a little crazy. Like if you
He's
met
a fighter,
him,
right?
Yeah, if
He's
you met him,
he's got a lot of energy.
a lot
of
of
energy. He's a good dude.
Yeah, super nice guy.
Shout out Eric. Yeah.
And so he brought me on board. He came over and he showed me his W-2. He's like, Jose, you could be making this.
Yeah.
Right? On our first meeting, I was like, all right, I'm on board. But
It's like what moment is that? Like a Wolf of Wall Street.
Wall Street.
Like,
Yeah,
show
yeah,
me.
yeah,
Show me.
yeah.
Show me.
How much do you make? He's like, well, I made like, $900,000.
$75,000 last month.
He's like, this year?
Show me
Last
for
month.
$75,000.
Last
Quit my
week.
fucking job.
Right now.
last
That's
week.
amazing.
I love that. I love that movie. It's great. So it was kind of like that, right? He's like, here's my W-2. This is how much I made. Okay, I said I'm quitting.
Yeah. Same thing. Done.
Same.
done.
I'm done. I'm sold. But
He Jordan Belfort you.
yes, he
I love
did.
it.
So he brought me on board. He was like, I guess I was a junior LO. He was working at the time with Steve Goodell. He's big. He's actually now. My prior boss. And he was big in doing leads. And that's one of the other things that I came on board as well, because he had a lot of leads that I was able to kind of call and get some business on. And allow me to kind of stop working at Wells Fargo. And listen, I can't, I love retail.
What year was this? Do you remember?
Oh my God, it was like 6 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, 6 years plus.
So after 2008?
Yes. After 2008, can't remember exactly the year, at least 6 years ago. And yeah, man, I loved it. And again, it allowed me an opportunity to kind of see, okay, and then before I came on board, by actually me getting that work permit, it allowed me to get a house, myself.
Yeah.
Right. And working at the bank, it allowed me to understand how to, how to utilize my credit card.
Structure, right?
Structure. Yeah. Like I remember,
Which is
like
super important.
Yeah. I remember my cousin Pablo got me the job there, and I was like, Pablo, can you help me get a credit card? He got me a credit card, student credit card, right? Started building my credit. And then I got my first house, and I was like, man, I was actually like 26 at the time, 26 when I got my first house.
So that had to have been, before the crash?
It was right in between the crash. I got my
Okay.
first house in 2008. So,
Okay.
the prices have already dropped. But after I even got my house, it even dropped some
It dropped a little more.
right?
Yeah, 2009, 10 was kind of
Yes,
that weird moment.
It dropped, I would say, another 30 or 60K. But at the time, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let go of this house because I'm
Smart.
because I'm paying. This is really important, you guys. I was paying, I don't know, like a little bit less or about what the rental market was. So to me, it's like, if
the
I go
difference?
somewhere else,
Right.
yeah, I'm going to be paying the same thing, to somebody else.
Yeah.
And
You
I said,
own
this is
this,
my
right?
house.
This is
And I
mine.
own this house. I can make the payment.
Right.
And that's what it is. It's owning real estate is it's an investment, so it goes up and down all the
course.
time, right? So you got to make sure that you're there for the long term.
Right.
So, like I said, after I got the house, it dropped like 30,000, I believe. And like I said, I was like, no, I'm gonna stay here. Why am I gonna go somewhere else? Why? I'm gonna stay here. And I'm glad that I did. Like 2 years after, I gained some equity.
Absolutely.
Right. I even still have that house still.
Wow.
Where was your first house? Where'd you purchase that?
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
nice.
off of Buchanan. So in that area.
Is it a rental now?
It's a rental now. Yeah. So now I have my second house in Concord.
Let me ask you this: so you rented it out, and so it pays for itself now, or
Yeah. So this is what I tell my clients all the time. Like your first house is not it's not going to be your main house. So don't think of it like your dream home. Think of it like whatever you could afford and whatever you can get into. Obviously, go ahead and do it, because you're going to be able to either utilize that to buy your second house or even convert that into a rental, right? For your investment.
right? So have you ever pulled from it or anything like that, or is it getting
Did I
paid
pull some
off?
money?
Yeah, like
Oh, okay. So yes, we pulled a little bit, but every time I pulled money out of it, it's been small, like maybe 30, 50,000 to pay off some debt, or I shouldn't say you should do this, but I put some money to buy a car. Not the best.
Well, I mean,
one thing
depending-
you tell.
yeah,
I mean, life happens, and but
Depending
you-
on what you use your money for,
Yeah.
if it's gonna, if you restructure yourself, it's always gonna be better, right?
Right.
But I mean, for you to be able to have that house, it's rented now, leverage it for whatever you needed to leverage it for, even if it was for a car or whatever.
Yes.
And then still be able to buy a second house. I mean, that's a pretty big deal, to be able to, one, save money, or two, save enough money to go buy another house. Or,
Absolutely.
Or maybe leverage that to go buy another house. That's what people do all the time, right? They're using it for their next step.
Oh, of course. And that's what I'm trying to teach people nowadays. It's like, I wanted to tell my story of how I started, because I came from like not having documents, not being able to, even have a driver's license and being able to buy a house. So, and a lot of people don't know that if you have a work permit, you're able to buy a house.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's powerful. Actually.
So nowadays, DACA. So DACA is new, just a few years old. That if your parents brought you here undocumented, like you could have been like 2 years old or 1 year old, undocumented as a little kid, right? You had no choice. If you have a DACA, you're able to buy a house.
Yeah.
And we're talking about, that's a new generation. So those DACA recipients are usually like in their 20s,
Right. Right.
mid to late 20s. And a lot of them don't know. I actually had a conversation with somebody the other day, and she's like, hey, I remember that you posted something that you're able to get something, as a DACA recipient. I said, you know what? I'm going to redo another video, because I like to do that. And you and I were talking about reposting the same videos.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to repost that again.
Yeah.
Because it's very important to get that out there, because that's a huge, it's a huge group of people that don't know.
Right.
They can buy and they have good jobs.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of those kids went to college.
Yeah.
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 That's a learning lesson that me and him were just going back and forth with for hopefully other agents, that people that want to be successful, it's like, or in anything, you know, being in the entertainment industry, nobody just posts the one thing that they film that day one time, and then you promote it one time.
No,
say,
you can't.
you know, an album, like you're promoting it for years, you know?
Yeah.
So it's same thing with us as lenders, realtors. We make videos and things, and, you know, I am not a victim, but like, you know, I've done it before, where you post one video like, oh, the whole world saw it, they had to see it. It's like your ego thinking that everybody saw it. Like me and you spoke, it's that DACA video that you made is going, somebody knew the next time you post it is going to see it, and they're going to learn from it that when you didn't post it that first time.
Right.
So that's huge, and I think that's something that a lot of
Well, I think also too with like content within real estate, right? Like some content is like very market specific, right?
Of course.
Which is kind of happening right now to a certain extent, but a lot of it's very historical.
Yeah.
And things like that information will never get old.
never.
Yeah.
You know, so
It's
a new generation or every couple of years, someone's going to see that and get inspired to say, okay, I actually can own a home.
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, a lot of them have good jobs. Some of them are in trades. Some of them are, you know, like up in the corporate world.
Yeah.
You know, because some of them went to college.
Right.
You know, and for them to know that they're able to buy, that's huge.
Yeah.
And some of them didn't know. I remember like this lady reached out to me, and she's like, you know, I didn't know I could buy. Absolutely, you can buy. And then from posting that recently, I got this guy from Texas who reached out to me. He's like, oh man, yeah, I didn't know that I could do that. Right. So it's just like, you know, just putting that content out
geotag
there.
the border.
Literally.
Yeah. But yeah, man, like I said, it's a lot of opportunity out there for the Hispanic community, you know, the African American community. It's a lot of stuff. Just yesterday, I went and did you know, the Cal Hafa training as well,
Right.
With to learn about different options that, you know, people have
Right.
with the forgivable equity that you can get actually up to 10% of the purchase price, right? It is income related per county, but I mean, that's great.
Right.
You know, 10%, that's huge.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Free money.
Free money.
DPAs
Free
are,
money,
are
man.
what got me out the gates in real estate.
Right.
Right, yeah.
With my mother-in-law,
Oh, okay.
she's a.
Oh, that's right. You said you're.
Martha Morales. She's just a killer when it comes to DPAs. So helped a lot of my clients that people like you're saying, like, I didn't know I could get a home, or I didn't know I could get this money to, you know, put down towards my down payment or whatever it may be for closing costs. And, you know, those Cal Hafa programs and the other ones they have out there really are a source for people that may not think that they're eligible to do it.
Yeah.
To get them across that line and actually, you know, accomplish that goal of owning a home, which is it's huge, and it's great knowledge to have.
Inspiring,
It is.
right?
Yeah. There's a lot of options out there. Absolutely. Not just even with the down payment assistance program, but even right now with the market, you know, there's a lot of, I know that for many years we were saying it's a seller's market. It's a seller's market, multiple offers here and there. But right now it's turning. You know, you guys are all realtors, so you guys know that some of the homes out there may even offer some type of credits. So that credit could be used towards the closing costs, towards, you know, buying down the rate. So a lot of different options that the clients currently have. So in regards to, you know, like me buying in 2008 when that happened, again, it was like around this time, right? Like, you know, homes were kind of like sitting on the market a little bit longer. Well, during that time when I bought that house, I actually got a credit from the seller. It was a bank-owned property. I got, I guess, from the seller, the bank, a credit to cover the closing costs. So the very minimum that I came
Down
in
payment,
with,
yeah.
I didn't use a down payment assistance. Again, you don't have to all the time, but that's an option there. But definitely really good options right now.
Yeah, seller can give you a little down payment assistance, you know.
Right.
So
Yeah, for sure.
So something that you kind of went over and I admire that you do is your social media presence. I'm sure in the beginning, because you've gone through the wave of no social media, and to see it evolve. So that's something that really interests me. Is like, when did you say, I need to hop on, on the social media and start marketing that way? Because it seems like you get a lot of traction and clients, and you do a really good job from your Instagram and the other things that you use. Give yourself a shameless plug. What's your Instagram?
Oh, it's Menendez Loan Officer.
Go. He's got epic content. So please go follow him. You'll learn a lot. But yeah,
Also a boxer.
Yeah, he's a boxer too.
Boxer, morning runner. You know,
God's a unit.
I
He's a
try,
unit.
I try to put out there everything, you know. It's like, well, not everything, but you know, try to put myself out there so people know who I am. You know,
course.
like my, you know, like my character and stuff like that. But yes, I do like boxing and running.
Yeah. Was it like, you know, did you have kids and like the kids are on it and you're like realizing like what
to
was that moment?
Yeah, you know, like I had Instagram and then I started people like, you know, putting some content out there, and I was like, you know what, you know, I started, you know, obviously doing the loan side, and then the Instagram, I was like, I like this because it's like little clips,
Right.
little stories and things out there, and it's just like anything, you know.
Yep.
We're not, or at least for me, I don't work at a retail bank at Wells Fargo or B of A that I'm having people come in and saying, hey, I need a loan, so I need to put myself out there. So I always try to do that, even with Facebook prior, and then Instagram, now TikTok.
The short format.
Yes,
Yeah.
the short format.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, you know, like putting that information out there, yes, there's been a lot of times where, you know, I gotten business from it, right? Or people have, like, you know, made comments like, oh, that's great, I didn't know this information. Do you do this type of loan, or what can I do? So it's just, you know, putting myself out there, trying to put the information so clients can learn, right?
Of course.
And then the last few videos that I have done, I try to make it more like, you know, not so like, what would people want to know if I was trying to buy a house?
Right.
Right. For example, like we're talking about that DACA, people don't know that because, you know, has someone who called me about that. So I've been getting a lot of calls about bank statements. So maybe that's another one that I'm going to do. So there's a bank statement program that we could do, that we just closed one, where if you are like a business owner, and you know, we're all business owners, right? We don't report everything, of course.
We report everything. We report everything.
Okay.
87,000 people are going to come looking for us.
Please talk to your tax advisor. I shouldn't say that, but
But we have a lot of write-offs as
Yes, I
business
should
owners,
say
right?
we
So
have a lot of
all
write-offs.
of our income isn't, you know, our income, right? We have write-offs and everything that.
yes,
that
yeah.
generate.
So especially if you're starting out with your business, you are going to have a lot of write-offs, and then so if you're trying to buy a house and you have a lot of write-offs, that could be an issue, right? Because you could be, you know, making, for example, $200,000, but after your write-offs, you're making maybe 75.
Your net is damn near nothing.
Yeah, your net, because that's what we look at. We look at your net. We don't look at your gross. It would be great if you could look at the
Traditionally,
gross.
right?
Yeah.
Traditionally, look at the net, right?
Yeah. So the net, and then minus your debts that you currently have. So if that's an issue, you know, we can actually do a bank statement program. So we, you know, push aside the taxes. We're like, we're not going to see the taxes. We're only going to see your deposits for the last 12 months or 24 months, right? Whatever that average is, that's the income that we're going to use, right? And that's great for business clients. A lot of business clients don't know that, right?
A lot.
A lot,
A lot, yeah.
that you're able to do that. So we're here to kind of help out, you know, business clients as well with that. So we have that program here.
Yeah, especially any type of 1099, right? Like people that own big businesses, people that work for themselves. You know, there's a lot of people out there that they don't realize that. Yeah, they don't have a W-2 job, so they feel like, you know, they can't buy a house, or they're not aware enough of the programs out there. So especially the people that work for themselves, any.
Yeah, I mean, I
1099.
had, you know, one of our friends, we were golfing the other day, and he was like, hey, man, how can I prep myself to buy a house in 6 to 12 months? And he was like, when I went to the bank, he, you know, traditionally goes like Wells Fargo. Like, a lot of people think, like, I'm going to go to a traditional, you know, major bank to get my loan. And, you know, it makes sense. He's like, well, when I did this, I qualified this way. And I was like, well, you left your position 8 months ago to a year ago almost, and you invest heavily in, you know, the crypto market, and you have some type of income that you have. A lot of it's cash related, but we can help you. We just have to prep you, right? You know, it's showing the consistency with bank statements and finding out the terms that you want to show that consistency for, and we can get you in a loan. Getting a loan is not going to be the hard thing. It's just the borrower has to understand what he has to do.
And that's something we specialize in.
And
It's
that's something
non-queuing,
exactly,
right?
100%.
So that's
we're huge.
Yeah, and that's huge. And that's I'm glad that you kind of touch bases on that in regards to prepping somebody, right? Because that's the huge
the
thing.
biggest part.
That's a big obstacle
Yeah.
for that we deal with
Let's
as
say
well,
not
right?
only
That
the
we
mortgage,
deal
but-
with that all the time. It's like someone's like, well, I don't want to go through the pre-approval process yet because I want to go see what kind of homes are out there. I want to go find the home first. And it's
Right.
like, we don't want to sound like that pushy agent that's just trying to sell you, but we truly mean it when we say that we have to see where you're at first. We have to make sure that we're on the right plan, because the problem is that we all know is you go find the house and
Yeah.
then you go get pre-approved. Something comes up, there's a speed bump, or maybe there's some little thing that you forgot about or didn't know about on your credit or something like that
Yeah.
stops you.
Yeah.
Or maybe you have a ton of money because you work for yourself, but you haven't been putting, maybe you're cash heavy, you haven't
Yeah.
been putting it into the bank. You have to plan, to make sure that when you find that house that you're already ready, not getting ready at
Yeah,
that time.
Absolutely.
The last thing you want to do is go shopping with your client, right? Seeing multiple houses, then like, okay, this is $800,000 home. I need it. I want it.
Yeah.
And then you
It's
get
the
there.
perfect home for
yeah,
you.
and then you're like, well, you get pre-approved and it's $700,000, and you're like,
Yeah.
Or you just haven't, you haven't
deflated.
prepared,
You haven't
right? Or
prepared,
maybe you
right.
went on the Zillow and you saw the little calculator and
Yeah.
you're like, okay, let me do the calculator. Oh, I can afford that. That's
Yeah.
easy. I
Yeah.
make way more than
Yeah.
that.
Right.
But
Yeah.
they're not prepped
Exactly.
on paper yet, right?
Yeah.
Because they haven't gotten that pre-approval
Right.
Yeah,
process.
it's
done.
huge.
And the
Yeah.
earlier you can prep, right? The earlier you can prep, the better your rate's going to be in those type of programs,
Right.
right? Business owners, I think, are super savvy because, especially if they make good money as a business owner, whether they have employees or not, or they're 1099 contractors and they're their own person. Those people are the savvy people. Those people understand finances. They understand it pays to play, right? You got to pay to play. But for the most part, prepping them as early as possible will always give them the better rate, because the consistency and the longevity of that actually plays into the rate. And everyone's always like, yeah, we can get you in 90 days or less, but you're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
And that's the sticker shock.
Yeah,
in
so
some
it's,
aspects,
it's
so.
prepping somebody, like I said, that's huge, especially for business clients. Like you said, you had your friend that you said, okay, yeah, let's look at everything. Let's go ahead and put you in a path. And that's huge for me, putting
Huge.
clients in a path, not just necessarily business clients, but even like regular W-2,
Right.
paid stub clients, putting them in a path. Maybe their credit needs to be fixed, or maybe they have a couple of little debts that they need to pay off, right, to get them to that specific goal. So I always tell my clients, listen, let's go ahead and get you guys pre-approved. Let's see where you're at. Let's see what type of debts you have. And a lot of my clients are like, oh, before you pull my credit, I want to go ahead and pay that stuff off. I said, no, let's pull your credit to see which ones are going to give you the best benefit, right, to pay off, to increase your FICO score, and to get you, to
Right.
qualify for
That's
a little
that's
bit more.
another huge objection that we hear. Like, oh, I want to pay off some stuff before I get it, or before I get the pre-approval process started, not realizing that you don't have to be debt free, or maybe paying off that debt that you have isn't going to necessarily help you get qualified for
Right.
more. So again, like, it's such a long sales process for us in this industry. It's not like we're on a car lot where we want to make sure that you leave with a car. Our goal
Yeah.
in this industry is to set the next appointment, because our goal is to continue. And some of the time it's years. You might meet someone,
Right.
and it might not be a year or two until you close on a home.
That is true. That is true. And that's a good point as well, is that, it could take 3 months. It could take 6 months. It
Yeah.
could take a year for you to be able to buy. I mean, obviously, I tell my clients, listen, I want to do business and I wanted to get you out there, but we want to make sure that if we get you out there, you're not going to have any issues, and I'm not going to, have you waste time and money. Right. Which is huge. So, again, reviewing the documents, reviewing the credit, putting everybody on that right path. And that path could be quick, or it could take 6 months or a year.
And how much does it really hurt you to get your credit ran for?
That's
for
what
a
I was
mortgage?
gonna-
'Cause I've been in the market to buy my own house for
Yeah.
the last
4 months,
4
5
months, and
months?
I've gotten my
Yeah.
credit pulled a couple times. I don't see like a
That's
huge difference.
that's the exact question that I wanted to ask is for people, listeners that don't understand, when you're
Yeah.
pulling a credit, doing a credit pull on your, all your files,
Yeah.
is that affect you when you're shopping to purchase a home?
Well, I want to also mention that, like, people, like your credit is important, but like they do it, in my understanding, they do it by range, right? It's not like you have to have like a 730
very
or
specific score. No,
right?
it's
It's
a
like by a
range.
range,
Correct,
right?
correct.
Like above this number.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's
like
like-
from like 720 to another range. Like that's a range that
Yeah.
you fall in, and that's where the rate kind of starts.
So like, yeah, when you're shopping, does it really affect you, or you can't be penalized from what my understanding for shopping rates and shopping different lenders, right?
Yeah, so that's a good question as well. I get that a lot when it comes up in regards to checking credit. So you have 30 days to shop around, right? So for example, we're in August, right? So let's say you're getting ready to buy something, you're kind of shopping rates. Yeah, you can have, a couple different banks check your credit, mortgage,
Right.
to check your credit, and it's not going to affect you. You have that window, and that comes from the credit
It's
bureaus.
expected, right?
Right, yeah. So now what does affect you is if you go out there and you start applying at Chase, credit card wise, right? At Chase and, Capital One, and that's going to bring down your FICO score, like 10,
That
20
or
points.
like a car loan, right?
car loan,
and
yeah.
is it because it is a mortgage and a home is an appreciating asset? That's why it doesn't affect you. Is that
So-
or
To a certain extent, I mean,
Okay.
there's just like there's certain theories, right?
Right.
But yeah, because that is an asset that is generally appreciating. Consumer debt is also looked at, which would be a credit card or maybe a private loan. Autos fall into that, and those things are more likely for you to default on.
Of course.
So
Yep.
like the odds are that. So there's all these different factors on why it's more riskier and it kind of more of a derogatory
Right.
thing when you're actually
course.
trying to go, hey, I'm trying to get credit cards. Well, why is Jose out there trying to get Capital One, Chase, Bank of America?
Run this up.
He's
Run these
he's trying
numbers
to
up.
American Express it. Like what's going on in his
Yeah.
life that he needs this credit,
Right.
Yeah. And then, but if you're qualifying for home, the underwriting process is so different.
Yeah, of
course.
So
Yeah.
they look at you and say, oh, like he is very much able and stable to buy this particular piece of property, and let's go ahead and give him this loan. So the underwriting process on that side.
Yeah,
is
and the
really
underwriter
different.
is not going to say, "Oh, well, he applied for 10 different mortgage loans, so we're not going to give him a loan." No, it doesn't look like that. So yes, they do review your credit, and you do have to explain those credit inquiries right within the last 60 days. But if they're mortgage related, all they have to do is explain it's like shopping for a mortgage. Shopping for a mortgage.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Nothing like crazy where like, oh my God, he applied. Multiple places. Nope, this guy is denied. We can't
bought
do
an
that.
RV.
Yeah.
right?
Platinum American Express.
But that's huge knowledge for
Yeah.
first time home buyers
Yeah.
or home buyers that just
Yeah.
are uneducated, because that's a huge question. Like, oh, they're gonna pull my credit. They're gonna pull my credit. It's like, no, they see the relation of the mortgage. Okay, this guy's shopping for a rate
Absolutely,
to
yeah.
get his best.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
I mean,
normal.
Yeah, people are super sensitive to their credit, of
course.
which is fair.
fair. But-
Unfortunately, we don't get taught on credit much,
is
so
what
we don't
we're
really
here to
understand.
educate.
It's like it's kind of hidden from us
Yeah.
a little bit, but we have this score that's attached to us that's semi-hidden from us. We don't really understand it fully,
Of course.
until you go through it. Or
Let me ask you guys
multiple levels.
this. So you're talking about credit, right? And kind of that got brought up. How did you guys learn in regards to like learning how important credit is?
Me,
in
myself?
life? Yeah, like you guys.
Me personally, I just see from
The hard way.
The hard way. Right. But luckily for me, it wasn't the hard way through me. I'm learning through other people's mistakes.
Got it.
And then I'm learning through other people's successes.
Yeah.
I see my friends that are super successful with 800 plus credit scores, and, the type of things they're able to buy and the type of, successful transactions they're
Were
able
you
to make.
like, how did you?
Yeah.
How
So
were you able to afford that?
Yeah, I'm trying to be a student, right?
Right,
So they're
right.
like, okay, well, I opened a couple credit cards and I paid them off every month. I didn't spend the whole thing, but if I did, I made sure I paid it off. And then my mom, being the COO of Trans United, who we are, in cahoots with, she had her trials and errors,
Yeah.
right? And my dad having his own business, they have to run up credit cards and their credit score goes down and things like that. So for me personally, it's just learning through other people and asking questions and really just like trying to understand, okay, if I'm going to open up a credit card, like maybe do two with a smaller limit.
Yeah.
So I can't, just blow through, $15,000 that I can't pay back, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I get a little bit and then pay it off.
The scary thing, I guess, for our age group is that we were in college in high school during the era of social media, but not like a whole lot of information. Like YouTube was getting started, and I saw kids in college like pull out a bunch of student loans, you know, grab a bunch of, get up in a huge amounts of debt and then spend it, right? They're like, oh, I get money. I think it's free money.
Right,
and they're spending it on housing is a huge one that they spend it on. There's, maybe they bought a car, maybe they're buying clothes. What's so cool about today is that we have TikTok, we have Instagram Reels. There's so much information, and there's like, you know, tons and tons of people out there preaching financial literacy.
Right. Which is huge.
Yeah.
That
Which
wasn't
is
there before.
Huge.
That's why I was asking you guys.
You had to
like,
learn the hard way.
You had to learn the hard way. I learned from
like,
you know, my network, which, you know, I've been able to grow into more affluent as I've gotten older and more professional in different businesses. But I was learning credit from college students that were my friends, you know, or
I feel like
I met along the way.
I feel like through high school or even college, I don't think credit is even like talked about or how important it is, right? But I feel like when I started working in retail bank, that's where I kind of knew like, oh wow, it is important, right? And it does open up a lot of things. And then the reason why I was asking that is because, you know, like talking to the clients out there, some of them don't know how important it is, right? Going back to getting them ready, right? Maybe they overspent or they went into collections and things like that, right? But we have tools, and then with us right now that we can kind of help them, you know, get into a better like FICO score. Or sometimes they actually even think that their FICO score is too low to qualify, but it's enough to qualify. You know.
It's all about good habits too with credit. People don't really know the good habits of credit. I didn't when I first started getting credit cards and bought a car, you know, got a car, and I thought, you know, hey, I make my payment every month on my car. I make my payment every month on my credit card, not realizing that making your minimum payment on your credit card isn't like a huge. Necessarily good thing. You know, it's there's certain habits that that you need to, you know, abide by when you're trying to build your credit to make it better, right? Absolutely. So, and it's little things too that we just don't always have access to on a daily basis, or like if you're not taught from a young age that you're not, you know, because it takes time. Like if you're doing, there was also kids in college when I would be in class and we'd talk about these things, you know, some professors would bring it up, and there's kids in my college classes talking about their parents opened up a credit card for them when they were a baby, and they've been paying off
authorized user scenario.
Yeah, they've been paying off their you know, the bills on their house, their utility bills or whatever, they've been putting it on the credit card and paying it since they're kids. And now they're 20, you know, almost 30 years old, and they have excellent credit.
That is the secret to success for any successful family.
Like imagine you're building credit 20, 25 years as opposed to 3 years when you're old enough to understand it by yourself. You know what I mean? So
I remember when I first got introduced, they were like, go to like K Jewelers and get a jewelry card, because when you're first 18, they'll give you anything. They'll give you like $500, right? They were like at that time, and we're talking about like TikTok, and we're talking about Instagram and all these other outlets for kids that are 18 now coming into that part of their life. They have all this access. I learned that from like, I think like a teacher or something like that. He was like, hey, you should do this. And I was like, okay, cool, whatever. Go buy a bracelet for $500 or whatever it is. And
like, but it's funny that you would say that too, because like if your friends saw you do that and they didn't really understand what you were doing, they might be like, you're stupid, dude.
Like
why you don't need that bracelet?
Yeah, you have some cash, but at that point it was because that was the easiest way to get a first trade line that, or like a Macy's card at that time was like.
But they kind of like, your friends
were like, that doesn't make any
look
sense.
down on you, right?
Yeah,
like
they're like, that
buying
doesn't make
nice
sense.
stuff with your credit card, or maybe you go buy like a sound system with your credit card, and they're like, what are you doing, dude? You're like, this isn't within your means, you know what I mean? But you're building your credit.
You're building your credit, and by that time I started to understand, to the point where I was like, okay, cool. I started increasing my network, right? And they were like, yeah, you should do this next and do this next. But it's all about asking questions too. If you don't have that guidance.
Yeah, and it's true. If you don't have that guidance, so you had, you know, your teachers, you had your you know, your college friends, and you had your family, right? So a lot of our customers don't even have that. Right. Some of them, you know, don't have the parents where maybe even their parents don't even have credit, or they don't know how it works and how important it is. So if you have really good credit, I mean, you're going to be able to get a lower interest rate on a car loan, right? Let's say, or even on a house. So what I try to do is I also try to educate my clients on how important, setting up credit is, especially if, they weren't born here, maybe they're from Mexico or Central America or South America, and they don't know why you need it, right? And how important it is. So it's all about educating. So I think, I'm glad that you guys are educating your clients on how important that is, because it's huge, right? It's going to get you places. Like you're saying, like your net worth started to get bigger. So, like being able to buy a house, right? And then from buying one house, then you're able to buy your second house. But it starts from, going to K Jewelers and getting that, that bracelet,
now,
that's how it
And the
starts.
thing is, like, I got a Nordstrom card one time because my friend, like, I don't know, I just got a Nordstrom card.
Just get it, dude.
I just didn't understand credit, and I got one, and then I was like,
sale.
You probably got some cologne, huh?
I wasn't using it. I used it maybe once or twice. I wasn't using it, and then I canceled it. I was like, I don't want this anymore. And I was like, now I'm looking back, I'm like, I'm an idiot.
I've
Like,
been a long
why?
credit
I
line.
was just going to say that.
That
So
credit history have been-
you have a client. Yeah, you have a client right now
Yeah.
that had multiple cards open, but in theory, they were like, hey, I'm just going to close these two and left the one that I mostly use open.
Oh, okay.
Which, what does that do for a mortgage? Now that eliminates multiple trade lines, and now you only have one trade line that knocks you out of a qualifying status.
Don't cancel your
So
credit.
don't cancel your card, pay them off. I mean,
Yeah.
just
Leave 'em
cut
at
them up if
zero,
you want
yeah.
to, but just
Yeah.
leave them at zero. But longevity in trade lines, I think, is also overlooked. Like you said, there's good habits in credit. That's a good habit to have. Like, it's okay to increase the amount of available credit you have out there, because that actually helps you.
I always tell people, people don't know you can call your
Call
credit
and
card company
increase
and
your
ask for
limit
more. Do it all the
annually
time.
if you can.
Yeah, do it all the time.
It doesn't hurt you if you're not in jeopardy of getting a mortgage or
Right,
something like that.
that's true.
Your credit is protected a lot more too. Like with fraud, if something were to happen, then you're just your checking account.
Yeah.
So if like something happens, somebody takes it and spends all of it, it's a lot easier to like
To call in.
to call in and say, hey, this wasn't me.
Yeah, I wasn't in Vegas.
No, I wasn't in Vegas. We talking about. Okay, sorry. Here, it's back to you.
Yeah.
Your
Beach Club?
your 20 grand in your
bottles?
checking account. They're like, oh, well,
I can't get you the 20K
I can't
back.
get you that back. It's gone. So it's
Yeah.
like the top 1% teach that. Spend
Oh,
everything
yeah,
on your
yeah,
credit
yeah.
card and pay it
Exactly.
off.
Pay it off.
Yeah.
Because
If you're spending it anyways, why not get points for it? Why not?
Why not?
push your
Yeah.
credit
Oh
for
yeah,
it?
I'm a huge believer on using
points guy?
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
absolutely.
actually, one of my friends was like, "Oh yeah, you should get like this Southwest, and you
that's
should
the
hit
one.
the Hilton."
that's
and,
the
and
one
then
Southwest credit
yeah,
card.
what he does is that like he
flights.
pays it off, closes it out, waits like 6 months, I think, and then reopens it again to get the points again.
This guy.
I think they called
Beat the
credit-
system.
Yeah,
It's like
beat
the
system, yeah.
cruise people. We all know
Oh, yeah,
cruise
the
people.
cruise people.
They set it up. They get all their family to go. They put it all on their credit card. They pay for everyone. They get paid back. They get all the
Yeah.
points. They get all the things from the cruise line. They get tons of rewards. And meanwhile, everyone thinks they're doing such a great justice. Like, oh, thanks
Yeah.
for setting up this
Yeah.
cruise for
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
us. Thanks for
Absolutely.
paying for it all. But
It's
we're
like,
gonna
why
pay
is
you
your
back.
room so much nicer than all of ours? You're on the
like
top deck.
below water.
Well, I can see fucking whales flying by my room. You're up there in the sun on the sun deck. He's like, whoa, these points are nice.
Yeah. No, points are nice, man. I think it's, again, people teaching you how to use it, right? Because the credit card is huge to establishing your FICO score and all that stuff. But then that's another layer to it, is using points. I mean, if you know how to use the points, cruise,
Gas.
Southwest
You're
gas,
good.
yeah.
All the things.
Yeah.
What do you think is the top 3 best credit cards to have in your
I mean, I'm a huge Chase Sapphire fan. I know the Bank of America has like an equivalent that's actually pretty good. I think you have it.
I think so.
Maybe.
I do have a
you
Bank
I
of
think you do
America
have it,
credit
but
card.
Chase Sapphire is
Bank
pretty
of America's
solid.
business
Capital
credit,
One's
yeah.
got some good stuff.
Yeah.
Black card is kind of what I just stick to.
American Express Platinum will get you out of you can put a lot on that card. It's just you got to pay it off.
Is that
every
a
month.
business card?
It's not. You can do business and that,
Oh,
but
okay.
you got to pay it off every
month.
single month.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing.
Yeah, that's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of opportunity in credit cards. I mean, people say,
Especially if you're a business owner,
Yeah.
you spend a lot in if you're a business owner, you pay it off. Yeah, that's huge points.
Right.
I mean, I seen a commercial. I don't know which one it was. Maybe it was Capital One, but they were like, "Oh yeah, I paid my employees like health insurance with this, rewards. I was like, oh, that's huge.
It's good though, but I mean, I think that's also like another potential maybe topic for a podcast at a later date is, to get some people in here that are business owners that probably have set themselves up, because there's a lot of ways where, and this goes back to qualifying and structuring your client is, there's a lot of clients out there that are 1099 contractors or sole prop people, and they have everything mixed in with one. But if you can structure your client out, maybe you do one loan for them in the beginning, but then maybe you structure them because they want to start doing investments or they want to, they want to level up their homes.
Yeah.
How to structure your entity, how to structure credit around your entity. So now you're a
like
personal
next
guarantor
level,
and you're not even
right. Did you guys know that if you're a business owner, that if you use your business credit to buy, let's say a truck or whatever, right? Like some type of car for your business. If it's run through your business credit, it doesn't show up on your personal.
Right.
Yes.
So it doesn't affect your personal.
Yeah. So protecting your, because you can be the same person essentially, but you have an entity, an EIN, and you'll have your social security number.
Right.
And if you know how to play those in conjunction simultaneously,
But you don't. You need advisors for that.
Yeah,
You
you
need
need
advisors.
advisors. And what I learned
No one
is you have
does.
to establish that business for a while to have credit running through it, paying it off to show still that this business can now pay for that
I
truck.
mean,
Yeah,
you
so-
set yours up this year,
Yes,
right?
yes.
You set yours up there. You set yours up years ago.
Right.
I mean, we had a conversation about it a couple of years ago, and you just went and did it.
It was pretty easy too. They gave me $30,000 on a credit card
Instantly.
Instantly.
Yeah.
That was my first offer.
Yeah.
It was easy. I
Yeah,
don't know if
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
still that easy.
But where are you at now? You now have the opportunity to share revenue and personal and taxable income if you want. You have to be able to play that. So for a loan officer, for you getting a structured deal, that opens the doors even more and is a lot cleaner of a file for you to present to the bank.
Oh, yeah.
And for you, you're structuring probably way easier with a business client like that. And you can kind of see probably who's the more professional, not professional, but established and,
Well, it gets tricky too. It is important to have a team for
Right.
your finances, for your financial
Right.
future. It's you gotta do what you gotta do day in, day out, and to be able to organize everything in the background that's working for you is tough too. You gotta have a team. Like shout out to Francisco, my
Yeah, he's the man.
yeah, he's the man. He
you got to
got
get
me-
Cisco on here, dude.
That's what I was thinking.
Francisco,
just once we started talking
that's-
credit, I was like,
he's
we
probably
need
gonna
him
be-
here.
Yeah, he's
Is
probably
he
on next
is he
time.
your CPA?
He's all
He's
he's
all
all
of ours, yeah.
He handles all of our. Yeah,
he's gonna be yours.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Shout out. We'll plug you if you want him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leave
Yeah.
a comment.
Okay.
He helped me with this stuff so far. Going from being just 1099 to being limited liability. To now having another corporation that pays my corporation. That and it's gonna the web is gonna get bigger from
Right.
there.
It needs
Yeah,
to.
yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
true. You're right. Is having your the right people, around you, and it's going to put you into a position where you can actually, be, getting your wealth bigger, right? So, I mean, again, it comes down to like making sure that we're putting everybody on the right path, right? So if we have a client that needs to submit up with a CPA, we have a CPA that can put you in a path, right?
Right.
And there's so many different layers that we could do. So, hey, you guys, if you're looking for a team to get you to the next level,
The team is super
Give us a
important.
call.
Yeah, don't
Absolutely.
Try to do it on your own.
No.
I mean, you can, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I like
It's
the
it's
team.
definitely difficult. I mean, I know I've lived it, and then you struggle, you learn a lot, but there's a lot of wisdom that you have when you fail or
Yeah.
you have to get punched in the mouth, and you can give it to other people, right?
And that's what we provide as Rise Group is, as you could hear and see here to our listeners, there are so many people that are well versed within our network and that are under our umbrella that have so much knowledge in every aspect. If I don't know something, I have somebody a door away to ask a question about lending.
lot of times,
I have a CPA to go to and handle all that tax stuff that I'm not an expert at that, you know. So I
You
want
don't
to
need
find
to
an
be.
expert. No,
You don't
you
need to
find that team member. You know, you got a shooting guard, you got a guy in the post, and you got a point guard. They're all doing
talking
different
about.
things,
You also
but
got a
all
whole
of them
back office. You got coaches.
exactly. You got so
Mm-hmm.
many people behind the scenes, which is what we provide here, and it's a blessing, and we want to give that to all of our clients.
And I mean, not to say that you can't get that somewhere else, but if you vibe with us, I mean,
Yeah,
why not come
exactly.
vibe with us? You know what I mean? Like we
if you want
have.
the best,
I mean, yeah, that's up to
if you want to be on the Yankees,
you. Yeah, I mean, that's up to you. You can go.
Not
You
mad
can
at
join
that.
whatever team you want to join.
but then you
know?
can be on the Yankees.
Exactly. I actually do have a question on my notes that I wanted to ask Jose. Is you know you've been in the business, so you said for about 6 years now, plus or maybe minus, but you've been different places. You've been at Wells Fargo.
Yep.
You know, you've been at different lending outfits or loan outfits, mortgage outfits. Correct. And so you recently made a switch to Rise Group. Like, what do you feel like drove that decision, or what do you feel like you're getting now that you feel like is making you excited to be here to make that move?
So like, yes, I've been to a couple different
Is
places.
it because we're the Yankees?
Yeah. So that's a good question, and the reason why I wanted to join Rise is because I feel like the energy is really strong here. There's a lot of opportunity. It's growing. We're talking about the whole media out there, right? So we're doing the podcast. I wasn't doing the podcast before. I was already kind of doing the whole TikTok and the whole videos and things like that. And you guys have a whole crew that does that, right? And it's all about getting the message out there. So I like where you guys were going with that, and I'm very excited with that. And in regards to, the lending side is great. Pricing is awesome. Our turn times are great. Just like I mentioned yesterday, we went to go get a certificate to be able to do the whole down payment assistance program for, the CalHAFA and things like that. So there's a lot of knowledge here, and the support's really good. So that's what kind of drove me to kind of make that move, because of you guys are kind of doing what I'm trying to do with the whole social media.
So it fits.
So it fits.
It's a good fit.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
Awesome. I mean, I think that's the biggest compliment. I think what I want and respect and see the vision of Rise Group is like you're saying, it's the culture, it's the energy, how we transact and how we act day to day is huge, and it's something that I emphasize and talk to these guys, behind closed doors so much about is the culture and giving everybody these outlets like the media team that are just awesome. Shout out to the boys back there. So yeah, I mean, that's just a huge compliment, and I appreciate that.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely welcome to have you.
Thank you.
I mean, I guess what I would want to know is just, simple plug for you is, the type of clients that you like working with, what you're looking for the future. Like,
Any type of client.
like how do you, how can anyone support you out there?
Yeah.
Obviously give you a follow, tap into you on social
Yeah, definitely,
media,
yeah.
like all those things. But how do you want to be received, I guess, with a lot of people?
Yeah, if you guys can follow me, I'm trying to put some content out there. That would be great. If you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate. Reach out to me. I love working with first-time home buyers, business clients. I love helping them out.
Nice.
No, please give me a follow. Menendez, loan officer.
Spanish speaking.
Oh, I do speak Spanish. Hablo español. So aquí estoy para ayudarles, por favor.
Hey,
Me hablan por
hey.
teléfono.
Orale!
I just watched a whole podcast in English.
At the end, it's in Spanish.
Also licensed in multiple states.
I was going to
Yes,
say that
yeah.
earlier too.
Big
What's
deal.
cool for social media for loan officers or just people in the mortgage industry in general, you're not handcuffed or tied to like a certain area, right? Like you can
Geographically,
do,
yeah.
geographically, like you can be wherever you want and produce a ton of content and be able to help people across the United States, right?
Yeah, so
Which
I'm
is pretty
licensed
cool.
in California, Texas, and Arizona right now. So
Cool.
Epic.
Yeah. Yeah, for us it's a little bit
It's a little bit different.
It's a little
yeah.
bit tougher on the
Little
real estate
different,
side. I mean,
different side.
there's still ways to do it, but I do envy the mortgage
the
side.
reach.
Yeah, the reach.
I wish I was taking flights to Florida, you know?
Oh,
Let's go I want to
Do it.
buy some houses in Miami, guys. Come on, let's go.
man, Miami.
Well, we appreciate you a lot.
Thank
This
you,
was
thank you.
insightful and epic podcast. I mean, you just dropped a bunch of knowledge for our listeners, and that's what we like to have on here. So,
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Jose, you're the man, brother.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
All right.
And Rise, we out.
We out?
We out.
Dude.